Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live stream, a comic tropes live stream. And this may not look like much right now. It makes sense to me. I wouldn't expect it to completely make sense right now. Today's prompt for Inktober was Overgrown. And after a little bit of thinking, I thought of the movie Tetsuo the Iron Man. It's pretty disturbing. I did an underdrawing. I lightboxed it. I came up with this, which is what I'm now going to use to begin my illustration. And Tetsuo the Iron Man is, I found at least, very disturbing. It's it involves two men that are just slowly becoming taken over by weird bits of machinery. It's hard to explain. It's pretty surreal. There is a story underneath it all, but it's a surreal one. That's all I can really say right now. Hi, kitty. You want to be on TV? All right, let's see. Hi, RuneScape. Hello, Alec. Hello, Beowulf. And Akira shout, Tetsuo! It's not that Tetsuo. It's not Tetsuo from Akira, just to be clear. Also a Japanese movie, but not an anime. This is just a black and white, low-budget horror film, sort of a cyberpunk horror film from somewhere around 1989. And freaked me out. Hello to, let's see, hello to Rory and It's McGee. Hello, Iron Shell. You just had an earthquake? I hope you're all right, Iron Shell. Hello, Seed Hill. Oh, good morning for you. It must be pretty early morning in Scotland. Let's see. Craigie, hello. Hello, James. And hello, Lapis. And hello, Jeff. So, pleased to have everybody with us tonight. That's awesome. I know this one's late, man. This is definitely late, but what can I say? I had a late night at work, and all I did was eat a little bit of food and go straight to work. My cat is meowing up a storm, but she's been fed, so don't let her plaintive cries and wails fool you. She just wants attention, which you can get by just walking right over to me. Come here. Let's see. Hello, Kajumak. I've read the first volume of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. It's an interesting story. I didn't really overly care for the art. Maybe it gets better. I'll keep drawing. Hello from California. Hello from the United States, Elmer. Hello, Jack Jones. Hello, Aldi. What? A little kiss? Hello, No Hurt Feline. Do I have any other Halloween month traditions? Do you carve a pumpkin every... I don't always get to carve a pumpkin. I like to. We bought a pumpkin. We've got a pumpkin in front of our house. And we always have candy for the trick-or-treaters. I'm glad to hear that you're okay, that your earthquake wasn't too serious. That's good. This is my little kitty Chibi, and I'm just going to let her sleep on my lap if she wants to. It's up to you, baby. It's up to you. No, I've never read the Dragon Ball series. I'm aware of how successful it is, so it definitely has an important place in comic book history. Whenever I've seen, commercials or flipping through channels and I've seen snippets of Dragon Ball, I'm like, man, I don't care for the... I don't care for that animation. It's like really basic or something. I don't know. It really, I find it off-putting and not interesting at all, but I am aware that it's really popular, so just sort of one of those nerd hurdles, like something I can't quite get into, even though everybody else seems to like it. I think everybody has a nerd hurdle, like something that is pretty popular with the nerd community, but for whatever reason, you are just not that into it. Maybe it's Star Wars or Star Trek or a particular manga. For me, it's seems to be Dragon Ball. I just don't get it. Let's see. Where was the earthquake? Not sure. Iron Shell would have to tell us. Hey, bro, please do a ghost face drawing sometime this month. Who, the rapper? The art does evolve much more in the manga. Okay. That's interesting. Yeah, well, then I'll keep reading it. I know a lot of people are curious to hear my take on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In order to have an informed opinion, I'll need to read a bit more. So, yeah, so far I've only read the first volume. I did find the story kind of interesting. We'll see where it goes from there. It's been running for so long, I'm sure that it takes some pretty big twists and turns as it goes on. But I'm just trying to start at the beginning, you know? What I'm going to try to do today is actually work from the center out, since I already know what this sort of light box layout means. Oh, the Bay Area and Cali? Alright. Huh. Oh, from Scream. I thought you were talking about Wu-Tang or something. I was like, why does he want me to draw the Wu-Tang Clan? I mean, nothing against it. It just seems like an odd choice. Okay, you mean the ghost face from the Scream movies? That's a possibility. In general, I do like those movies. Definitely miss Wes Craven. The first one's definitely quite good. For me, I guess I'd rank the order of Scream movies 1, 2, 4, 3. Did I ever see the Scream TV series? No, I didn't bother with that. I mean, it didn't have any of the actors or writers or creators from the movies involved. It looks like it didn't even, like, at least in the first season, have the rights to use the iconic Scream, like, mask. So I was just like, no, that does not seem like it's actually Scream. Scream in name only, you know? Xenomorph? Yeah, that's possible. TV series is not bad. Take your word on that. No interest here. 3, yeah, 3 was probably the worst, but it didn't close out the story too bad overall. It just was a little too focused on, like, jokes as compared to actually being scary. That, like, Jay and Silent Bob cameo and stuff like that, I was just like, I don't know. It ended the story on a satisfying enough note, but it was not really scary in my opinion, which probably should have always been the priority. Let's see, Chris, do you ever have music on when drawing? What I'd usually have if I wasn't live streaming tends to be sometimes music, but a lot of times it will be podcasts. I do like background audio, and I tend to like the spoken word, and I can absorb it pretty well. Like while I'm drawing, like I like listening to either comedy or true crime podcasts is what I tend to enjoy doing. That's my process. Is Overgrown a reference to Stephen King's short story? certainly could have been a reference to one of them, like the one from Creep Show or something. But what I'm doing is from a horror movie called Tetsuo the Iron Man, where a man, actually two different men, but this is just one of them, each sort of get overtaken by metal. Some of it's electronic, some of it's just steel and tubing and stuff like that. It's surreal and scary. I'm drawing a lot this month. Just it's fun. I'm doing Inktober, and I have to do some artwork for a comic book that just had a successfully funded Kickstarter. I mentioned it on at least one of my episodes. My friend Randy made a comic book that's an anthology of short stories that all sort of deal with death in some way. They're really clever, like with a lot of twists to each story, and I thought it was quite well done, so I'm excited to be involved doing a short story for that. Yeah, Tetsuo is pretty weird, right? Oh, you say you forget who made it. It's I just cannot remember the filmmaker's name right now. He actually also stars in the film. It's something with a Y, but I'm not remembering it right now off the top of my head. It's just been too long since I would have read who did it. Anyway, these days with Google and Wikipedia, obviously everybody could look it up really easily. When am I going to do flipping the universe upside down trope, like the Age of Apocalypse or Flashpoint? Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I don't know. Hadn't really considered it, so not in the immediate future, but I'm definitely not against the idea. Is anybody else out there participating in Inktober by any chance? And if so, I guess what my main question is which day's prompt have you enjoyed the most, and which has proved to be the most challenging for you? Always curious what other people are doing art-wise. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Shinya Tsukamoto. Okay. I would love if you did an episode on Batman Vampire. Well, I'll keep it in mind. Let's see. I don't quite understand your question, Adrian. Who influences my style of tech? Not quite sure what that means. I'm sorry. Let's see. Congrats on your short story art tropes. I mean, thank you. I'm not sure what that means either. Beowulf says that he's a professional writer, but a god-awful artist. Well, being a writer is a form of being an artist, but I think I understand what you mean. You're saying you don't consider your illustration skills up to snuff? I think everybody can improve how well they draw. Obviously, some people are naturally gifted with great motor control, inspired imagination, or things like perfect memory, recall. Those all help to become a great artist, but I think anyone can become a better artist than they are already. It's a journey for everybody. As in, what artists influenced how you draw the tech in your art? Oh, cool question. For tech, guys like Jeff Darrow and Brian Hitch that are on the more sort of like realistic and detailed side, but also some like I like how somebody like Alan Davis is just like really smooth. He's got nice rounded real world depth to his illustrations. You mentioned you were doing some professional art. I don't know if it's professional exactly. I'm illustrating a short story in a Kickstarter-funded comic that was successfully reached some of its stretch goals. So it's something that should be out sooner rather than later. Hard to say exactly when it would be out, but almost all the art is already done, so that's a positive. Yeah, Tetsuo the Iron Man's really disturbing, even though technically it's not really like much in the way of gore. Like, what's a movie that actually like disturbs you? Like, I would say another movie that really disturbs me that doesn't really have any violence is Eraserhead by David Lynch. That's a movie that doesn't really have any real violence, but I find it incredibly disturbing, and a lot of that is down to like its audio cues. They just creep me out. And Tetsuo the Iron Man also had some really great freaky audio. I think it's an underused tool to creep people out. Like, really good audio can really scare people. Hard Candy, it's an interesting one. I think drawing human beings is the hardest thing to do. You really have to use your imagination to bring a character to life in a drawing. Yeah, I can understand that. Where can we read the comic? Will it be online or on the shelves? Well, it's a physical comic. To do it, you could, like, I think the Kickstarter's still open for like a day or two. It's on Kickstarter. It's called Death and Comics. It's by Randy Stone through his imprint Altruist Comics. So, yeah. That's the easiest way to get it. Is it's going to Kickstarter people first, and then maybe he could get it like picked up by a publisher. He's got a publisher that picked up his next comic. It's in issues of previews right now for like stores to order copies. And that one's great. It's called Eskimo Kisses. I don't want to like give anything about it away. He kindly asked me to be one of the sort of proofreaders on it, so I've seen it. It's a really cool story that basically involves an alternate but real world sort of definition of Eskimo that like some indigenous tribes meant to take a flesh eater or eater of the flesh, and some really amazing sort of monsters that the Eskimos, as in, or more like the Inuit tribe, like we're trying to warn people about up there. It's a really cool story. The Videodrome, yeah, and Jacob's Ladder are the two most disturbing for me. I could totally understand that, totally. All of David Lynch's films are weird. Definitely, but controlled weird. He's talented. I like most of his movies. Something like Dune. His version of Dune isn't quite what I would have expected, but it is very interesting. What other questions are there? What's my opinion on Jose Ladron's Cable? I didn't read it. I didn't read that one, so I'm not too familiar with that. I was bored by the Joker movie. Did you like it, though? No, I felt like it was a story that's been done before. I love Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks is great. Jack, I think that you and I have very different tastes in what we like artistically. Neil Breen is the untalented David Lynch. He's the untalented something. But you know what? Like, you gotta love Neil Breen, that he just keeps going, and I hope he never finds out. Like, I hope he never becomes self-aware. Like, I think Tommy Wiseau became self-aware that, like, everyone found The Room funny, and so now he just says, like, oh, I meant for The Room to be funny, and I will do other crazy things. But he did not mean for The Room to be a comedy. And if he didn't know that people took it as a comedy, we might have gotten some more awesome Tommy Wiseau weirdness. Joker is not so unique, but a great lesson in what mental illness can do to humanity. I do think it's an okay take on mental health, mental illness. I think it's accurate with its portrayal, and I think that the performance by Joaquin Phoenix was a good performance. So there are components to it that I liked, or that worked for me, I should say. So, yeah. But overall, like, I felt like it's a movie that's been told many times before, especially by Martin Scorsese. And of course he did it better, because Scorsese is a better filmmaker than Todd Phillips. I mean, that's just a fact. Yeah, I saw that. Zoe Kravitz is going to be Catwoman. Yep, she's jumped around a couple comic book worlds. I haven't seen Best Fiends. I'm curious about it, but, you know, I'm sure that he's trying to be funny in a way, or trying to be weird, which doesn't work. It's like a movie like that Neil Breen makes, or, you know, The Room, or, you know, like bad movies that, like, where people tried earnestly to make something good, but it's just bad. Troll 2, you know, things like that. They're hilarious. But then you have something like, you know, the Sharknado movies, and you're like, well, they're sort of like intentionally trying to make a ridiculously bad movie, and it doesn't quite have the same impact. It's not as funny. Zoe Kravitz is going to be Catwoman, with Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think that, like, I think it could work. We'll see. No, I did not hear about the X-Men animated series lawsuit. And hello, Fighting Goat. Welcome. All right, I'll take a look at what kind of questions there are. Robert Pattinson rules, and I'm dying to see The Lighthouse. Yeah, I think that's this Friday. The Lighthouse comes out. I really liked Robert Eggers' last movie, The Witch. That was a really well done horror movie. That was very badass. That was really cool. So definitely curious about The Lighthouse. What was Robert Pattinson was in a crime drama, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was fairly recent. Something like Good Day, like something like that. It was really amazing. So he's a very capable actor when he has the right material. Good time. Yeah, good times. Seriously, if you guys want to see a recent, like, very different and unique but well done, like, crime movie, Good Times. Pretty dope. I'm actually not following like every sort of pencil marking I made so much as I'm using it as a guideline for where this whole thing's going. The only thing I need to do is just have like lots of blacks and lots of flowing lines to indicate, like, you know, just sort of scrap metal enveloping this character. The Rover. I don't know the Rover. That's interesting. Good scripts make everything. That's you have to start there anyway. Yeah, I'm not into the Twilight movies. Sorry. What's your take on Judge Dredd tropes? Never really read it, but it is interesting to me now. I've covered Judge Dredd. I talked about some of his tropes in an episode where I went to England, and I also discussed him and like the Dark Judges storyline when I discussed Brian Boland's art career. So there are 2 episodes where you can find me talking about Judge Dredd. What Osamu Tezuka manga have you read? Phoenix, which, even though unfinished, is pretty awesome. Astro Boy. I made an episode about Astro Boy. What else? I think I've read at least one other, but it's not coming to me right now. But yeah, he's the godfather of manga for a reason. That guy was a great storyteller. Very clear, easy to understand, panel to panel transitions, establishing shots, character design, emotion, gesture. There's so much you can learn from Osamu Tezuka. It's awesome. Yeah, earlier people asked what music I like to listen to, and I said podcasts, but actually what I most like listening to is just the same song on repeat, Good Vibrations by Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. You know, I'll draw to that for a good 4 or 5 hours at a time, just on repeat, that same one song. It's pretty great. I think that there's a lot of creative inspiration that can come from that. Okay, I can't... I'm just messing around. Hello, Booga. Thank you. Oh, I did not know that there was a Tezuka museum in Japan. Is it in Tokyo? Because I'll be in Tokyo in a month. I wouldn't mind going to something like that. Haven't really read or watched Manzinger Z, so couldn't really say if I liked it or not. Not enough of an expert to have an informed opinion on that one. I could identify the main, like, robot guy, I think. That's about it. Like, if you had a series of toys, I'd be like, okay, that one's Menzinger. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right, though. Hello, Sansanity. Can I sing some? It's such a good vibration. That's all I can sing without getting demonetized by YouTube. So, by the way, that is not a song that I listen to on repeat. If that wasn't abundantly clear, let me clarify now. If there's any rumors about me that are false, they're going to end up being ones that I accidentally start. I know that's the truth. I know that's right. Did you ever watch that weird X-Men cartoon where Wolverine was Australian? Yeah. He goes, schnicked, and it goes, want a piece of fruit? That was the first Wolverine I ever saw. Like, that was before I was reading the comics. I saw that cartoon, and it was like, oh, he's supposed to be Australian. Oh, okay. Then later you're like, no, he's a Canadian. There's no reason he should have an Australian accent. There were 2 cartoons that did that, I think. I think that he was like that in the old Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends episode, and then that Pride of the X-Men cartoon, a pilot for an X-Men animated series that didn't get picked up. I'm pretty sure he's voiced by Australian actors in both of those, or at least with an Australian accent. I'm pretty sure. I could be misremembering and merging them together, but I think that I'm right. The Disney-Sony Spectacular Spider-Man show. No, I don't think I've seen that. The Superman Returns movie from 2006. Yeah, didn't really care for it. Didn't think Brandon Routh was bad, and that was at the time when we didn't know that we weren't supposed to like Kevin Spacey. So, he was basically fine as Lex Luthor. Didn't really buy Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane. That she didn't quite feel right to me for some reason throughout the whole movie. And I would have liked more of Jimmy Olsen. But my biggest problem was basically just that it was trying to be too loyal to the old Richard Donner Superman, and to a degree Superman 2, but it was so long ago that like most of the audience definitely wasn't like remembering those movies. I mean, I was, but most of the audience wasn't. It was a weird choice, and ultimately, like, they seemed to spend a ton of money on it. It was kind of boring. It didn't have that many action scenes, and like it just sort of culminates with him going up against a bunch of regular guys and lifting up a kryptonite island. That wasn't that exciting. Yeah, Superman the Stalker, exactly. He's got like all these weird scenes where he's spying on Lois Lane's life. I was like, that's not that heroic. Yeah, some weird ideas. I'm fine with Crisis bringing him back. I think he looks awesome as the Kingdom Come Superman. I love how many crazy guest stars Kingdom Come is bringing in. The only one I'd really like them to include that they haven't announced officially yet is Linda Carter as Wonder Woman. I mean, Linda Carter's already on Supergirl sometimes, or at least she was like one season. That would, come on, you gotta bring her back. Kevin Spacey was an excellent Lex Luthor, huh? I don't know that he did anything excellent. It's like, yeah, he was a campy, silly Lex Luthor, and he was definitely fine for the time. I just was in the mood to see Superman go up against a Lex Luthor that was more like, a mad scientist or a really ruthless businessman. And this Lex Luthor just had like another plot where he wanted to like corner the real estate market. I don't know that Superman is necessarily like the only guy that we can turn to for a problem like that. I think like the California Highway Patrol or maybe the Volunteer Sheriff's Department in Pawtucket, Rhode Island could take care of that Lex Luthor. Throw in Shaq Steel. Now you've gone too far, Cara Bear. Now you've gone way too far. There's a limit to what we want to see there. Did I like Red Sun? I remember at the time I liked it very much. It's been a long time since I've read it, so I don't know how much it holds up. I thought it was a cool idea, and the artwork by Dave Johnson alone would make it worth, like, reading. But I can't really remember too much, like, all of Mark Miller's, like, characterization decisions. I can't really remember that stuff right now. Thanks, Kooky the Zapper. It's nice saying to hit like. That's kind. Red Sun animated movie coming soon. Plan on watching? I haven't really seen any. I've seen like 2 or 3 of the animated movies. I'm not a big expert on those. I've definitely heard lots of good things, but personally, I haven't really read much of it. Read much of it? I mean, watched too many of their animated movies. I've heard they're either going to retroactively want the Birds of Prey TV series from 2002 be connected to Tim Burton Batman films. I don't think anyone really cares whether it is or not. I think that the upcoming Crisis movie will have references to both. We know that Ashley Scott is going to be reprising her version of Huntress, and the girl that played, well, she was never named it, but like basically was playing Black Canary on that Birds of Prey 2002 show. She plays Alice, the villain on the new Batwoman show, so she could easily come back as that character too. I've heard that they've got, like, at least in terms of props, like newspapers that refer to the old Tim Burton Batman movies. I'm sure that a lot of these cameos will be really quick. Like, we'll just see a superhero world, like, get destroyed or something like that. There's just not enough space for all of these cameos to have a significant role. But I love how ambitious they're being on, like, a CW TV budget. You just know that, like, the rest of the season for all of their superhero shows are just going to be, them hanging out in a room just talking for the whole rest of the movie. My kitty's just taking a nap now. Oh, people can hear... No, it's not a fish tank. I've just got running water here for my cats. I didn't know you could always hear that. That's interesting. Let me see. I guess I can try to move this. No, I'm trying to see if I can move my microphone closer to me. I can give it a shot. I don't know if this sounds any better, if I sound like I'm yelling, or if it sounds about the same. But yeah. I'm just waiting for the day that Chris will do a Minecraft stream. I mean, I always could, but I don't think too many people would be interested in that. Is the water really that loud on the stream? Is it like something that's like overpowering my voice? Because honestly, to me, it sounds very quiet. I'm kind of stunned. It's too loud. I can't believe that the water is that loud. I'm really surprised. Huh. Yeah, I also have a what do you call it? Like a heater on down here because now it's becoming winter. So the kitties, I just want them to feel nice and warm. Because I'm basically in a basement. This is like just a massive room that's just fun. This is where I can draw. This is where I can, like, you know, play video games. This is where I can build Lego and use my treadmill and all sorts of other stuff. It's just a big room that I haven't really laid out fully yet, but I've got a bunch of space. You can adjust your sound if you want. Any good Hellstrom comics to recommend? Oh, Damien Hellstrom? I wouldn't really have a good recommendation on that character off the top of my head, sorry. What kind of Lego? Basically just really big sets. What have I built lately? I built the roller coaster and a big tree house, and I need to rebuild the Ultimate Collectors Series Millennium Falcon. One of my cats knocked it over. That cat is Milo. I've got 3 cats. That cat is Milo. Buddy, you're famous. Definitely a cat person, although someday when these guys have, you know, moved on from this world, I think that the next pet I'd like to get would be a dog. I think I'm ready to be a dog owner. I want to train something that can, like, you know, play catch with me and help me stay healthy by, you know, I feel like I have to take it on walks. Like, I feel like I would actually really like that a lot, so... Not anytime too soon, but I would like to become a dog owner. Dogs are rad. Yeah, they are. No action figure collection? I do, actually. So I collect Hot Toys, specifically the ones based on, like, the Marvel movies. So, like, up above, I've got, like, you know, I don't know, a little over 40 of these. You know, like, this is Doctor Strange. And I haven't really set them up yet. I'm going to get some glass cases so that I can sort of, you know, have them on display. What do I need to do here? Forget how I'm supposed to lock this. So I've got that, and then I have a weird collection of just every Donatello Ninja Turtle toy. I'm just amused by collecting just one guy and all his variations, because there's a lot of variations. And a lot of people have helped me with that collection. They'll send me weird or rare Donatellos whenever they see one. Like almost everyone I know knows to get me Donatellos, which I think is pretty fun. There's definitely a few that I don't have, but overall, I have most of them. What's the white whale of Donatello toys? Oh, so there was this terrible, like, 1 year long, like 1 season long live action show called Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. And there were some Donatello toys made for that line, and they didn't make too many of them, so it's just like, they're not expensive per se, because they're not, like, in demand, but they're still, like, really hard to find. So, like, I think that there's a camouflage one, and one that comes with, like, some sort of a net toy. Those are hard to find, but the hardest of all is they made a Donatello action figure over here that's super common. It's Donatello in a spy disguise. He's got like a plastic trench coat and like one of those sort of fake eyeglasses with a big nose and mustache. Well, over in England, they made that with a cloth leather trench coat thing. It's not leather, but just like a cloth trench coat. And that one I've never even seen for sale anywhere. It's confirmed that it definitely was produced, but only in England, so I've never been able to find that one for sale even. So I don't know what it goes for. Any chances you would cover Joe Kubert? Yeah, there's definitely an excellent chance that I will at some point. I'd definitely love to. What do you think of Charleston's The Peacemaker? Yeah, I mean, DC has it. They've never really done too much with him. Could be a pretty cool character. I'm not a massive fan of his helmet. It's fairly iconic, but it's also pretty massive. I do feel like that design could be streamlined and made to look a little cooler. But definitely a character that has some potential. And has probably never really seen that potential met. So that's a character that somebody could do something with. A fast forward Donatello. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've got all the fast forward Donatellos. The Bay Turtles were pretty bad. Yeah, they weren't too great. I've got those action figures though, just because I'm a completionist. The first of those two Michael Bay produced movies was definitely worse. Like, the second one wasn't good, and I didn't love the designs still, but I did think it was a lot better. It had a lot more sort of like, action. It had Bebop, Rocksteady, Krang, so I liked all that stuff. I don't remember, James. I don't remember Peacemaker's full origin anymore. iZombie was a good comic that was turned into an amazing show. Yeah. Pretty cool. Hey, I know something I don't feel like I've asked in forever, but like, what other YouTube shows or channels do you all subscribe to? Like, what's a channel that you watch like regularly? I'm curious if I'm missing anything. If it's comic book related, I probably don't watch it. Sometimes I don't even know about it. But I've heard of like most of the big ones. I've definitely heard of them and had them recommended. I don't watch other comic book channels because I don't want to have my opinions influenced or be accused of like ripping off ideas, so I just avoid them. But I'm still curious in general, like what YouTube channels do you guys like? Comics Explained. I don't think I know about Comics Explained, honestly. Lindsay Ellis. I've watched some of her stuff. She has very good analysis. I really liked her take on the Hobbit movies. That was good. Comic Book Girl 19. Definitely heard about that one. Have not watched it. Ryan George. Don't know Ryan George. That's new. Toy Galaxy I've heard of. John Campia. Don't know that. Smosh, Warp Zone, Geekdom. Do you see Kang the Conqueror being in the MCU? Oh, at some point for sure. Game Maker's Toolkit. Comic Drake. Comic Drake is about comic books, right? Not like a comedian. I'm pretty sure I've heard of Comic Drake. Comic Storian and Matt Draper. I know about Comic Storian. I don't know about Matt Draper. Is Matt Draper also comics? Draw with Jazza, box office artist, Pop Cross Studios. Defunct Land I've watched. Retro Blasting I've watched. Both of those are good. Enclave Comics, I'm afraid I don't know. Another Comic Storian. I'm pretty sure I met Comic Storian back when I was like first starting the channel. I've got a picture with somebody that had a YouTube channel, and I'm pretty sure it was Comic Storian. Yeah, I'm trying to draw my take on one of the characters from Tetsuo, the Iron Man. Most YouTube comic channels are also hate channels. I've heard that. That's another part of why I don't bother to like watch them, because I personally wouldn't really get much out of that. Like I like and dislike what I want, and I mostly talk about things I like. Sometimes, even when I like it, I'll try to like point out some of the shortcomings. And of course, sometimes I do like episodes that are maybe a little funnier about comics that I think are bad, because I do think you can still learn from them. But my overall point is to talk about like what we can learn from it, not just this is bad and I'm angry about it. Like I don't really get angry about something that I don't like. I'm just like, at least within comics, I'm just not going to buy it if I don't like it. That said, there are some exceptions. I think that there have been some bad storylines. Like, I did not care for Civil War 2 or Spider-Man One More Day, and I talked about that and made my arguments. Hate tubers have destroyed comic fandom. That's too bad. Danny Malt's comic reviews. Gotcha. Jobby the Hong. Jim Sterling, Eckhart's Ladder, Thor Skywalker, Outside the Box, Linus Tech Tips, Ya Boy Zach, Just Some Guy. Don't know any of those. I'm afraid. Like, those are all new to me. Strange Brain Parts, don't know that one. Opinions on Donny Cates. Donny Cates, I need to read him, apparently. Everybody seems to really like what he's done with Venom. I was at first sort of disappointed because I was really a big fan of Flash Thompson as Agent Venom. I thought that Rick Remender and Tony Moore created something really dope with that, and so I was a little disappointed to see the Venom symbiote go back to Eddie Brock. So I haven't read it yet, but obviously everybody's telling me that that's a good comic worth reading, so definitely on my radar. Something I hope to catch up on sometime soon. I know that there's that Absolute Carnage crossover, a big event going on right now. I'm curious. I'm curious about anything that like people are saying, hey, this is just good comics. But not up to date yet. Dope Spill, Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm pretty sure I've watched a Down the Rabbit Hole documentary thing. Nobody talks about how positive comic books are. I try to. Remender's Agent Venom is the only Venom I've read outside of Birth of Venom and Maximum Carnage. Yeah, I liked it personally, but, you know, I'm biased. I really like Remender and Tony Moore, and I also would consider them friends. Especially Tony, but they're both great guys. They should make Wolverine the new Venom, okay? Summoning Salt makes documentaries about video game speedrunning. Oh, that's a cool like little niche. I like that when somebody carves out a very specific sort of area to talk about. That sounds really cool. If you don't like a comic book, don't buy it. I agree. I don't... And it's okay to do a review. I just wouldn't, like, spend a long time talking about something that I didn't like because, whatever. It's probably somebody else's cup of tea, and feels like a form of gatekeeping to, like, sort of get caught up with, like, really disliking something and talking about it at length. You're like, no, you can only like it if it's like this. Well, whatever. Different people. Times change. I get it. Like, I love Captain America, I love Spider-Man, I love Batman. Don't always love every era of it. And I'm okay, like, sort of taking breaks, essentially, and then, like, coming back to a character when it's, like, well done. Like, I loved, when I was growing up, I liked Peter David's run on Hulk. And then I sort of was, like, burned out on Hulk, and I was like, yeah, there was some good stories, definitely, by guys like Paul Jenkins and so on. But I just was like, sort of burned out. But then I was hearing about Immortal Hulk when that debuted, and I'm reading it, and that's, like, become one of my favorite comics right now. And so, I just go back and forth and, like, sort of find runs that I like. I'm more into following creators that I like as compared to feeling completely loyal to either a publisher or certainly, like, a character. I don't feel that loyal to characters, even though I have some that are nostalgic favorites. Am I a Breaking Bad fan? I am a Breaking Bad fan. Love the show. Have not had a chance to watch the movie yet. Just been too busy the last week. That's, why am I doing these live streams so late at night? Because I'm working all day, and then at night, this is the only time I have to do anything extra. I'm basically opting to sacrifice some sleep this month to do this challenge of Inktober. That's the choice that I've made. And otherwise, like, for entertainment stuff, I feel like it can wait. I want to see it very badly. And sometimes I indulge a little bit in, like, maybe some YouTube, or on a day off I might go to the movie theater. But essentially right now, I'm kind of just strapped for time and just making the option, just deciding to give up some sleep to do drawing and get to chat with all you guys, get to sort of connect on that level, see what people are thinking about, what comics people are excited about. And definitely sounds like I need to try Donny Cates' Venom run. Favorite Spider-Man story? My personal favorite is Kraven's Last Hunt. It's not necessarily the one that's most indicative of who Spider-Man is, because it's a little bit more about Kraven, but I just think it's really well done all around. After that, let me think if I've got, like, a favorite story after that I really enjoyed. A lot of it I'm just sort of thinking of the art more than anything else. I liked when Jerry Conway was writing it. I liked David Michelinie writing it. Of course, I loved the early issues by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. So I like those eras, but I don't know that, like, I have as many, like, a classic story that I can call out as, like, my all-time favorite from those eras. Hope that makes sense. Dawn of X, looking forward to that. Would you do a video on Squadron Supreme? Potentially, yeah. Potentially. Yeah, everybody liked Adam West as Batman. He was really, really fun. Do you think the Hulk's leader was originally based on Fidel Castro? Don't think so, but haven't read some of those early issues in a while. Was he, like, a communist sympathetic guy early on? Hard to say. Never really heard that theory before. Are you going to do a video about Silver Surfer? I just might. I could see myself talking about the Jim Starlin, Ron Lim era of Silver Surfer specifically. But I've also I wouldn't mind talking about the Stanley Mobius comic about Silver Surfer, Parable. I wouldn't mind doing one about Silver Surfer that Mike Allred fairly recently was the artist on. So, yeah, I could definitely see myself talking about Silver Surfer at some point. No question. I feel like a sort of a tricky character to write, and yet, like, when he's done well, he's really interesting. There's not too many characters out there that you can sort of get philosophical with, you know? But you definitely can with Silver Surfer. He's a guy that, like, is a thinker, you know? He sees things on a scale the rest of us can't, and writing him that way can be the challenge. He has an awareness that's bigger than what we could possibly fathom. So you have to write him as slightly unknowable. A guy that has a lot of trouble retaining his humanity. I think you could get philosophical with just about any character if the writing is strong enough. Sure, you know, I mean, when you're the writer, you're God. I'm just saying that, like, that's a character that's sort of designed to see things in very different terms. We can connect with him on some emotional levels, but it's very hard to connect with the Silver Surfer in terms of, like, you know, he does not have a job or a home, anything like that. You know, he does not connect to us on that level. He's very alien. Was Dr. Manhattan based off Silver Surfer? No, Dr. Manhattan was based off of Captain Atom. All the Watchmen characters were based off of the Charlton characters. Rorschach was based off of The Question. Night Owl was based off of Blue Beetle. The Comedian was based off of Peacemaker. And, of course, Dr. Manhattan was based off of Captain Atom. So, yeah. And then, like, and DC was fine with that. And then at the last minute, they told Alan Moore, you know what, we might have future plans for all those characters, so don't use those characters. Just make up your own sort of analog. And he was like, I guess so. All right. I can still tell my story. Probably would have been cooler to use existing characters, but whatever. I know another artist doing Inktober vids too. Hopefully there's a bunch of us. Got any favorite Jack Kirby stories runs? Yeah, I mean, almost all of the stuff he did with Stan Lee on Fantastic Four. And I really like New Gods. Almost everything he did with his New Gods I found pretty fascinating. Not super into the stuff he did with, like, you know, Thor, or I do like, I guess, most of what he did with Inhumans. He definitely had his things he liked to do of, like, secret societies and, like, you know, the old rulers making way for the new, or really, like, refusing to, so that, like, yeah, that was always interesting. He had his tropes. His own personal Jack Kirby tropes. The Galactus trilogy, yeah. Who would be a good live-action Sergeant Rock? You know, he's probably a little too old now, but I would have said Bruce Willis a little while ago. At this point, I'd rather go for somebody that might be just barely into, like, their sort of 40s. That's, like, could be grizzled, but not old. Don't know who that would be off the top of my head, to be honest. But, I wouldn't mind a Sergeant Rock movie, or maybe even better TV series. The Shazam Who Laughs made me not want to read Scott Snyder for a while. Is that really a thing? I did not know that. Tom Hardy for Sergeant Rock. He'd be good. At this point, you know, that'd be like, you know, 3 comic book characters, so, you know, he probably wouldn't, like, on a personal level, like, necessarily want to do that. He'd probably be more interested in, you know, he's done his comic book tour. I'm sure he'll make a couple more Venom movies, but he would be good. I think Tom Hardy's quite a good actor. I don't think I've ever asked, did you read the Mad Max Fury Road prequel comics? I didn't, but I did see the artwork, and it looked like it was really good. I guess I just didn't see it in the stores, but yeah, the little bit of I saw, like, in, like, you know, online, like the previews and stuff for it, made it look like it was going to be pretty interesting, solid stuff. I really liked Mad Max Fury Road. That ended up becoming my favorite of the Mad Max movies. And those are movies that I do like. Fury Road would have been better with Mel Gibson. I don't really like seeing movies with Mel Gibson anymore. He's a creep. He's definitely racist, and I don't want to see movies with him anymore. Besides, I liked Tom Hardy. I think Tom Hardy can do anything. Road Warrior. Road Warrior used to be my favorite, but now it's definitely Fury Road. I thought Fury Road was just a really impressive mix of, like, practical and special effect, you know, digital, like, action scenes, and it just, like, it's just so action packed from beginning to end. What a ride. How long have I been going? Oh, I've been going a little over an hour. Runs Barter Town? Master Blaster runs Barter Town. Say it louder. Master Blaster runs Barter Town. Good. Him Blaster. Me Master. Auntie Entity. Yeah, the don't really care for Beyond Thunderdome too much, but the director wasn't, like, really super involved with that movie except for directing the final third, and you can totally tell that like the director's changed because all of a sudden the action gets a hell of a lot better right at the very end of that movie. But I do like Tina Turner, and I do like that song, We Don't Need Another Hero. I do like that song. Embargo off! Oh, that's right, Sansanity. You bought the Blaster sketch. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate that. I knew I sold it. I couldn't remember who I sold it to. Yeah. I'm definitely happy that you like it. I was happy with how that came out. That was fun to draw. Semi-obscure character. I like doing some unexpected characters. Should probably draw some more of like original characters. But what can I say? I do love pop culture. Yeah, Beowulf. I really like your take on that. That's how I've also interpreted the movies. Like, Mad Max is a legend. He's a myth, and like he may not actually be a real person, or at least not just one real person, because each movie I feel is like somebody sort of giving their take on a character they encountered that became like maybe way down the road became known as Mad Max, and I think that is an accurate interpretation. So that's also part of why I was totally fine with a different actor playing the role. Anyway, yeah, which only really like started to be obvious by like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, but like then you looked back and you were like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Like, he may not be just one guy, or if he was, like, you know, different people interpreted him differently at the very least. Favorite cryptozoological monster? The skunk ape. Watch out, everybody. It's a full moon. I sense the skunk ape's coming. It's a pretty full moon tonight. I don't know how many of you have clear skies. The moon looked really amazing tonight. Kind of cool also just to think that, like, you know, as far apart as some of us are, we're all able to see that same moon. So we're not that far apart. I like that you've been covering Seminole Independence. Any chance you'll cover Concrete at some point? Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely I will at some point. No question. Paul Chadwick deserves his due. There was a time when Concrete was a very important comic, and certainly a success within at least semi-independent comics. Like, at that point in time, Dark Horse was definitely a smaller publisher. I'm not sure I personally would classify Dark Horse as independent anymore. To me, independent implies a certain size and scale that's a little tricky to define exactly what that is, but like I don't think I'd classify Dark Horse or IDW as independent. I wouldn't classify Image as independent personally. I would classify certain types of stories when they're like creator owned and just published by like, you know, a bigger part. Let me give an example. I think that things that are published by like Fantagraphics, Top Shelf, Drawn and Quarterly, some of those books can get pretty successful distribution, like, you know, for instance, March. but I would still classify those as independent books. I don't know. It's very hard to define exactly what an independent comic is and is not. Very tricky stuff. I did not have a Tim Hortons coffee the last time I was in Canada, no. And now I've completely eliminated caffeine and don't intend to ever have coffee or soda again for my own health. So I'm going to have to miss out on exactly what that is. War of the Independents. Yeah, maybe at some point I would. Bigfoot was played by Andre the Giant. Are you talking about the Bigfoot on the old $6 Million Man show? I'm pretty sure that's when he played Bigfoot. I guess I must be getting tired since I'm not coming up with conversation starters of my own, but here's one. What was your worst injury? What was your worst injury? I'm trying to think. For me, it was probably just breaking my collarbone as a little kid. Don't really remember it too well, though. It's pretty young. Ran over by a truck. That's pretty serious. Burning the palms of both hands. Whew. Broken ankle last month. Torn groin muscle. You machine. I fell off one of those stupid electric scooters in May and ripped half the skin off my face. Jeez, I'm so sorry. A broken heart? Well, we've all had that, I think. Broke both my femurs in a jet ski accident in 5th grade. Oh my god. Broken sternum? That's serious. Jeez, you guys have serious stuff to talk about. Oh my god. I thought like people were like, a sprained ankle. I broke my pinky. Things like that. These are serious things. This feels like a Three Stooges set in the real world. Fell down the stairs and cracked a rib. Oh, I've heard that like really hurts. I've got a coworker who just had a rib dislocated. He was having his girlfriend crack his back, and she squeezed and she dislocated a rib. And like now, if I make him laugh, he's like, "Ow!" And so I'm trying not to be funny around him. Let's see. Go Team Venture. Yeah, absolutely. Go Team. Fell off my bike. Hurt my back doing deadlifts. Eesh. Broken femur. Ankle broke. Wheelchair for a month and crutches for a year. Oh. Appendix removed. Hello, Desiree. So you got a really bad paper cut once. Unless you're talking about like under your tongue, I don't think that quite compares. Pulled a leg muscle. Shattered a metacarpal. Just got out of the hospital. I had bilateral pulmonary embolism a couple of weeks ago. Dude, well, that's obviously... I care about all of you, but like that's obviously very recent and everything. I really hope you take care of yourself. No justice, no peace. I hope you can take it easy and that hopefully you've got a support system around you. I appreciate the support all of you give by like watching my show and stuff, and it means something to me. I definitely care about you guys, and just that's pretty serious. I really hope everything goes well. I have confidence that it will, but yeah, I don't want to be overly optimistic since I don't have all the details. I'm just trying to be positive. I want good things for you, man. That's all. Lethal testicular devastation. Ah, that's too bad. Deadly, it was nice knowing you. I bit off a long facial hair once. It's interesting. Had an accident with broken glass as a kid and seriously cut the palm of my hand. Could see my tendons. Ooh, gross. Chronic back pain. Yeah, that's serious. I work selling cars, and I actually encounter people that like have to be very careful with the vehicle they're going to select because they have chronic back pain, and they're like one of the most important things to them beyond like features and price and size is like am I going to be comfortable just sitting around and moving this thing? And it's no joke. No joke. Burned my elbow. Oof. A rock stuck in your knee. I've totally heard of stuff like that. And in fact, while it's nowhere near as serious as you, one time I know I got a splinter. Completely forgot about it. Like years later, I'm like noticing like a bump on like it was somewhere on my hand, and I can't remember exactly. I think it was actually like on the palm of like my thumb, and I'm seeing something dark, and it almost looks like not quite a blackhead, but something close to that. And I'm sort of like testing it, and it feels like more sore than like I remember. And eventually, something just sort of like squirted right out, and it was like just a super tiny bit of wood. Put a knife through my hand once. Jeez. Over 10 stitches. Yikes. That's serious. What's the worst thing you've ever done to someone else? I guess, murdering that hobo for no reason at all. No, I don't know. Don't know. Hopefully nothing too bad. I don't think I've ever done anything that could get me arrested. I think one time when I was a kid, I was at a birthday party, and he'd invited like it was real young, by the way. I don't remember exactly how young, but like really, really young. And he'd invited all his other friends that I didn't know, so I felt like really alone and isolated, and I was just sort of mostly hanging out at the kid's house in like his living room while everybody else like went to get cake. And I know that's totally like a weird move. I don't know why the parents didn't just sort of go like, Chris, come on and join people, but they didn't. So I was just like hanging out there, and I saw this tiny little like rope with a little grapple hook on it, and I just thought it was cool, and so I took it, and I feel really bad about it still. Like, why would I steal it? I didn't need it. It wasn't like something that I played with even in the future, because I like didn't want to get caught. Yeah, I can't steal. Like, it makes me feel too guilty. Like, I never stole like candy bars and stuff like that at stores. I just feel too much guilt. 50 stitches in the palm of your hand? That is a lot. That is a lot of stitches. I once hit somebody so hard, one of their teeth got stuck in my knuckles. Yeesh. Doesn't sound good for either of you. Butterfly bandages. Use glue these days. Yeah, I criticized Rob Liefeld. How dare I criticize somebody? My brother tried to drown me. Get him arrested. It's not okay. I know I definitely like squabbled with my sister, and I feel bad. Like, I probably treated her pretty badly here and there when we were real little, like just because I was older and I was a boy. She was a little girl. We could get on each other's nerves back then. Now she's like somebody I consider like my best friend almost. I really love my sister. She's a really amazing person, and so I definitely feel guilty about that. But it's like you're a dumb kid without the perspective of like what your actions, how they like impact others until you like get older to a degree. I mean, I knew right from wrong. I just didn't have the self-control that I wish I had as a kid that I definitely do as an adult. Everything exists in our mind. Yeah, I pretended to... I stole some change from a nun who was begging for change. I needed some money for a candy bar. Oh, man. That's terrible. Favorite supervillain origin story? Probably Magneto. Feels completely understandable, like, where he's coming from. When you understand his past, like why he'd hate humanity and think himself above it. He was exposed to the worst of it, the worst you could possibly be exposed to at a young age. But I also do like Doctor Doom, just this guy that's arrogant, but like who is just trying to save the soul of his mother to a large extent. And I mean, he lets that sort of corrupt him, and he goes down the wrong path. But it is interesting. It's a good origin. Alien or Predator? Alien. Oh. That's interesting. No Justice, No Peace says that Paul Chadwick's going to bring back Concrete with a new run in the near future. So, good. That's good news. Well, before it comes out, would have to be good timing for me to consider talking about his importance and what makes Concrete unique and special. I guess anytime before it comes out is fine, because my videos are up there forever. People can find them later. I'm thinking, because I'm getting quiet and because I've gone over an hour, I should probably sort of wrap this guy up pretty soon. But let's see what other people are saying. Anybody read John Carpenter and Anthony Burch's Joker story? I have not. A lot of people have mentioned that. That's interesting. We're talking about John Carpenter, the horror director? He did a Joker story? Huh. I wonder how that came about. I didn't even know he liked or had much interest in comics, so that's interesting. John Carpenter was so amazing throughout the 80s. I don't know why he's not still making great films by himself, as a director. I don't know. I hope it's self decision, he's just happy to be in a semi-retirement. Because man, I don't think he made a bad movie throughout the 80s. And he made a lot of movies. Tomorrow's prompt is legend. Thing that pops into my head is Tim Curry's devil character from that movie Legend. What was his name? It's something something like a an adjective that he uses as a name or something. What is it? It's something like a word for evil or something. Favorite John Carpenter movie? I think it has to be The Thing. Yeah, I'll go with The Thing. Quite a good film. Vincent Price was in an I Am Legend adaptation that was pretty good. Yeah, that one was, what was that one called? It wasn't called I Am Legend. Omega Man was Charlton Heston. Was his something like, with the word knight in it? Can't quite remember. Just like The Last Man or something like that? What was that? The Last Man on Earth. Yeah. Yeah, that is good. James Rolfe prefers the original Thing over Carpenter's. It is creative, and I can totally understand the respect, but if I'm being honest in terms of like what entertains me more, I gotta go with Carpenter's. Like, I was thinking, like, that there are some tough decisions like that. Like, I was like, oh, what's better, Alien or Aliens? Because they're pretty different movies. They're both really, really good, you know. And I love Alien. It's such a good horror movie. It's so well done. It gives us Ripley. But if I'm being honest, I enjoy watching Aliens more. That's just like, you know, a thing. This is Tetsuo the Iron Man, or at least my my poor take on it. I want to end, but I'm honestly having a lot of fun drawing this. I've been having a lot of fun the last few nights. It really bothers me that I haven't finished my Gremlins or my King Ghidorah pieces. Those are something I may like just at some point do another live stream just to wrap them up because I'm having so much fun with them. Prince of Darkness. The Tim Curry Frankenfurter Darkness would be a devil in fishnet stockings and lipstick. So was that the consensus everyone came to? Was that like Tim Curry's like devil character is Darkness? Was that his name? A good one for legend could be a cryptid of some sort. Bigfoot, Mothman, Boogeyman. True. Draw, what do you call it? The Slenderman. That'd be a quick drawing, though. Anybody go on like a haunted hayride, a haunted house, a haunted maze, anything like that yet this year? I love going on haunted stuff, but I have not had an opportunity yet. I've definitely been too busy. I know you've heard that way too much, but yeah, so I'm trying to live vicariously. And so if you've gone on something fun like that, let me know. I want to hear about it. I want to know where the best in the country or best in the world, best haunted like house or maze or hayride, etc. I want to know where the best one is. Bloody Mary. Yep, that's a good urban legend. Nothing yet, but Halloween is more important to me than Christmas. Awesome. Want to write some Halloween short stories? You should. I like it when the fly with the human head gets trapped in a spider web. Help me. Yep. I run my own occult shop. Every day is a haunted hayride for me. It sounds like it. I go to Penn Station in New York. Yeah. I was just there just over a week ago. I went to the 17th door in L.A. That sounds good. Good night, Itai. Scotland is full of haunted houses? Like, as entertainment, or just like you all believe that they're all haunted, or what? Because I don't know if Halloween is that popular. Like, in most other countries, I know it's not really a big deal, but some are. Some do it. I mean, it became a big deal here for us, just like more as like using some existing cultural traditions to co-opt into an organized holiday to keep unemployed young men from doing pranks and vandalism. You know, not every other country had that same problem at that same time, so they didn't really need Halloween. It has deeper origins, but the reason we celebrate it the way we do is more because of, like, yeah, what was going on in the Great Depression. Hi, James. Let's see. Good. Let's see. What else? Croatia. Cool. You've got lots of ghosts, Seed Hill. The Stanley Hotel, but the real one, not the one used to film The Shining. Old castles are scary. Yeah, I guess they can be. Christmas is the scariest holiday if you think about it. How do you get any work done with us gabbing at you? It's fun. I work slowly when I do these, but that's okay. It's part of it is to have an excuse to interact with you, and then just to be doing something while I'm answering questions instead of just standing there like answering each one like, you know, with rote answers. I want to, like, you know, give it some thought, be contemplative. I want to talk about art and comics. Yeah. got a terrible song stuck in my head that must have been playing on the radio at work. You know, the music that they play, but I don't even know what it's called. So it's like just sort of a part of it is stuck in my head, and I can't like even think of the rest of the song or the exact lyrics to sort of like figure out what I've got playing in my head. It's quite annoying. Quite obnoxious. How come Santa Claus has never been shot? 'Cause he's magic. Haunted walks. Yeah, those are cool. Personally, I don't believe in ghosts, but I do enjoy like the legends and stuff like that. I like the storytelling behind it. I like to sort of let myself imagine what it would be like if ghosts were real. Probably be a lot more sliming. A lot more people would get slimed if ghosts were real. It'd be cool if the nearby harbor did haunted ships. Yeah, that could be cool. Santa Claus was killed by gremlins? Oh, he probably came back. Technically, you're cheating with the drawing right now. It's after midnight. Oh! That's true. That's true. But I started before it was midnight my time, so I think it counts. I mean, I only have so much time, so what can I do, you know? Being a ghost would probably be awful. You couldn't eat, drink, or anything else. Yeah. Gonna start a Ghostbuster business? Good luck with that. Oops. Let's see. Would I like to meet a ghost? Sure. Yeah. I'll say, hey, how is it? How is it being good? What do I gotta look forward to? And the ghost would probably say, "Ooh." Congrats on finishing Jif Shazam. Ghosts always haunt old mansions. They never haunt studio apartments. Yeah. Yeah. What's up with that? Ghosts only haunt creepy places. Why don't they haunt, like, you know, a McDonald's? You never see like somebody just going, I'll get that cheeseburger to you in 2 seconds, sir. I just need to deal with a small bit of ghost busting. I will be right with you. Please, thank you so much for your patience, sir. A ghost haunting your studio apartment is just a bad roommate. Yeah, well, that doesn't pay rent. There you go. Have you moved into your new place yet? Yep, I'm in my new place. Been there for almost 2 months now. I like it. I like it quite a bit. More space, koi pond, just, you know, gives you additional responsibilities, but I also find it relaxing. So, does anyone else out there, by any chance, have a koi pond? Because this is something new to me. the temperatures here have dropped quite a bit, and at this point, the temperatures in my koi pond are under 50 degrees. So everything I read told me not to feed them anymore. That will allow them to hibernate since they're cold-blooded. But it feels so weird not to feed my poor little fishies. Ghosts don't haunt places; they haunt people. Well, that makes it sound like there's a rule, and I don't think there's any rules to them. You can come up with rules, but there's lots of different ideas on what the rules could be. Just like there's lots of different ideas on, like, vampires and stuff like that. Now, I think, like, if there's such a thing as a ghost, it's so unimportant as to not matter if it is real or not, because it's like if you can exist as a ghost but you can't be recorded on an iPhone, and you can't just like slime someone, you can't like pick up a chair and throw it across the room, like those are things that happen in movies. But if you can't do any of that stuff in real life, like who cares if there's a ghost? If you're just like, oh, I felt like the temperature dropped 5 degrees for a moment, that was a ghost. I'm like, so? I mean, I wish ghosts were real. That would be interesting. It just feels like they're pointless. There's no point to them. Bath salts. Generally, as a rule, I try to avoid ghosts. There's that ghost movie where the guy is bound to something and everything just moves around him and he can't do anything about it. Oh, okay. The ghosts are watching you in the toilet. Yeah, the ghosts are watching you there. Santa's elves are watching you there. The angels are watching you. When you go to take a dump, like, think of how many monsters and mythical creatures are watching you do that. Perverts. Toilet ghosts? Disgusting. My cat used to watch me take a dump. Voluntarily, that sounds terrible. I believe they exist. I'm just not that interested in them, okay? Ghosts aren't dead people. They're manifested archetypes, elements drawn from the collective unconscious, filtered through your internalized mental homunculus of another person. So you're just saying they're imaginary, I guess? I mean, I guess I can agree with that. Like, yeah, anybody can imagine a ghost. Good night. I think I just saw some good. Yeah, good night, Daniel. Thank you for joining. Appreciate it. Don't worry, I won't be going for too much longer. Don't worry, anyone. I know you all probably have things to do with your lives. Imaginary doesn't mean unreal. Right. I mean, I get it. It's just that, like, you can't, like, create knowledge that you don't have. So, if you're going to say that it's basically just being introspective, then, I can agree with you that far. But you're not going to learn anything you wouldn't learn just by sitting down and sort of, talking about an issue with, say, a therapist or a close friend or something like that. I don't know. It sounds like I'm being, like, argumentative or something, and that's not my point. Just getting tired, so I'm probably doing a better job, like, arguing my case or talking things out. It's an interesting topic, for sure. We Do in the Shadows was the definitive word on vampires. I love What We Do in the Shadows. That was fantastic. I guess I was just sort of trying to... I guess I was essentially trying to finish this, but it's getting late and I don't have time. I think that even if I block this out, like, that almost, like, makes it weaker, just knowing that, like, I have more stuff. But if you look at just that, like, definitely gives you an idea, I hope, of sort of, like, you know, a bunch of metal sort of taking over this guy. Like, he's being just overrun by scraps of metal and stuff. Every day he wakes up with more and more components on his body. It's a really disturbing movie, Tetsuo the Iron Man, but probably worth watching if you like cinema and you want to see something kind of different. Yeah, so I think I'm done. Yeah, I gotta call it at some point, so I'm gonna go ahead and be brave and say I have to finish. Every artist needs to know when to put the pencil down, and while this isn't quite that, like, you know, there's more to be done to finish this, I also think, you know, for an Inktober sketch, essentially, or an experiment, learning how to play around with various inking techniques, that I would consider this more or less a success. And yeah, I feel pretty good about it. So I'm going to call it here. I'm really grateful for all of you joining today. That meant a lot. It always does. And yeah, so Cara Bear had said earlier that the prompt for tomorrow is legend. Could go a lot of different directions there. I'll have to give that some serious thought. But I had fun tonight. So thank you all for joining me. I will see you tomorrow night, probably about the same time. It's going to be pretty late. But hopefully over the next 3 days from there, I'm going to be able to do it much earlier in the day. So hopefully we'll get, like, you know, a new batch of people in there too. I hope you will all consider coming back. I'm going to be doing this every day for the month. And we're almost halfway through, which is definitely an accomplishment. So, until I see you next time, keep reading comics. Goodbye.